Zhu Honggong was taken aback. Shouldn't they be covered in snot and tears and feel reluctant to leave after listening to my touching words? Get lost, you bunch of heartless fiends. The gang members hastily got up and dispersed. Mingshi Yin waved his hand. The vines that blocked the paths vanished immediately. He had no reason to fight these small fries. Moreover, they were Zhu Honggong's subordinates. It was a good thing to let them go. Forget about this shoddy stronghold. You have a place in the evil sky pavilion. Mingshi Yin said when he saw Zhu Honggong's crestfallen and reluctant expression. Senior brother, I've worked hard for everything here. I feel that I have a connection with every single plant here. Oh, shut up. Mingshi Yin rolled his eyes. I can't believe he's being pretentious even at this moment. Zhu Honggong said reluctantly, Let's go then. The two of them proceeded to leave Tiger Ridge. While they were walking, Mingshi Yin recalled a sensation he felt when he struck Zhu Honggong's back with his palm. Old Eighth, what are you wearing? Zhu Honggong hastily pulled his robes over his tunic and said, Senior brother, don't you dare have any covetous thoughts. Mingshi Yin shook his head and said, That's enough. You can stop trying to hide it. I didn't expect Old Seventh would procure a Zen tunic for you. That's all. I'm impressed that you weren't beaten to death by that pack of bald mules. Mingshi Yin gave him a thumbs up. Zhu Honggong chuckled. It's all in a day's work. The two of them stepped into the air. Meanwhile, Ding captured the rascal, Zhu Honggong. Reward 1,000 merit points. This surprised Zhou. Initially, he only intended to have Mingshi Yin find out about Old Seven's plan. Who knew Mingshi Yin would manage to capture Old Eighth? It was definitely a good thing that Old Eighth was captured. This way, he would not be able to make trouble. Zhou looked at the system dashboard. Name, Zhou. Race, human. Cultivation base, Brahmin see 8 meridians. Merit points, 13,312. Avatar, 6 recombinant trigram lines. Remaining life, 5,988 days. Item, Deadly Strike card X1, Impeccable card X2, Critical Block card X7 passive, Binding Cage X4, Refining Talisman X2, Ji Qindao's Peak Trial card X1, Wizard resting. Buy-in. Weapon, Unnamed Amorous Hoop, Owner, Yi Qianxin. Requires refining before use. Life Cutter, Nirvana Sash, Tear Stain Box. Cultivation Method, 3 scrolls of heavenly writing. It had been 2 days, and Wizard was still resting. Zhou shook his head. Perhaps it had spent too much energy while battling the 10 shamans. He wondered how long it needed to completely recuperate. Zhou glanced at the system's maul again. There was no time-limited box. Zhou gave it some thought before he finally decided to try his luck with the lucky draws. After 5 consecutive draws, his luck was raised to 19 points. His current merit points allowed him some margin for error on the lucky draw. Naturally, the above point was an exception. Elder Hua requests an audience. A voice rang from outside. Hua Wudao walked in, clearly exhausted. His battle with Sword St. Luo Shursen seemed to have drained him of all his energy. When he walked into the great hall, he bowed reverently at Zhou. Zhou asked in confusion, What's the matter, Elder Hua? Hua Wudao cupped his fist together and said, I've been thinking over these past few days, and there's something that I can't get off my mind. Hua Wudao continued, What this bag of old bones wishes to request has something to do with Ding Fanqiu. Oh! Ding Fanqiu is from the Yun sect and had acted under my instructions. At the end of the day, I'm the true perpetrator. This has nothing to do with him, Hua Wudao said. Zhou did not have time to reply before Duanmu Sheng's voice that was laden with fury rang from outside the great hall. Elder Hua, forgive me for being unable to agree with you on this. Hua Wudao turned to look at a furious Duanmu Sheng, who was walking in with his overlord spear in his hand. He looked majestic and formidable. Ding Fanqiu has impersonated the evil sky pavilion. According to our rules, he should be cut into 8 chunks and fed to the dogs. You're a member of the evil sky pavilion, and yet you're siding with an outsider? Duanmu Sheng asked furiously. Hua Wu Dao's wizened face flushed. Duan Mu Sheng continued on his tirade. I don't care who won between you and Luo Shisan, but I don't agree to Ding Fanchio's release. Thunk. Duan Mu Sheng hit the floor with his overlord spear. Hua Wu Dao said remorsefully, Since I've left the Yun sect, I should sever all ties with it. Ding Fanchio is the final tie. That's great. Elder Hua, you should kill him as a way to sever your ties to the Yun sect. Duan Mu Sheng said. Hua Wu Dao was rendered speechless. Duan Mu Sheng was destined to be the bane of his life. For some reason, Hua Wu Dao felt flustered every time he met him. The sparring sessions did nothing to alleviate this. Ever since he became Duan Mu Sheng's training partner, Duan Mu Sheng would seek him out to spar at every opportunity he got. He would keep on fighting despite continual setbacks. Sometimes, Hua Wu Dao wondered if Duan Mu Sheng was annoyed by him because he had lost too many times. Forget it. Hua Wu Dao cupped his fist together at Lu Zhou. I'm willing to be punished. Lu Zhou slowly rose to his feet. He descended the stairs with his hand on his back. He looked at Hua Wu Dao with a level gaze and said gently, I can release Ding Fanchio. Upon hearing this, Duan Mu Sheng's eyes widened. Hua Wu Dao was stunned. Pavilion Master? Before any of them could continue to speak, Lu Zhou said with his hands on his back, On one condition, do enlighten me, Pavilion Master. Although I left the Yun sect, my word still holds some weight to them. I'm sure some of the elders will do me a favor. Hua Wu Dao thought that Lu Zhou wanted something from the Yun sect. All I want is the sable magnolia. Hua Wu Dao was dumbfounded. Duan Mu Sheng was taken aback as well. Hua Wu Dao's old eyes widened as he said, Pavilion Master, sable magnolias are extremely precious. The Yun sect will never exchange a sable magnolia for Ding Fanchio. This. Lu Zhou waved his hand and said, There's no need to turn down my offer right away. Think about it when you get back. No matter how thick Hua Wu Dao's face was, he was too embarrassed to say anything else. He cupped his fists and left the hall respectfully. Duan Mu Sheng cupped his fist and said, Master, this old geezer isn't loyal. Why don't we? There's no need for that. Lu Zhou waved his hand. Just give him more time. Duan Mu Sheng, naturally, did not dare protest. Instead, he asked, Master, why do you want the sable magnolia? Your little junior sister's Sea of Qi isn't opened yet. The sable magnolia is a heaven and earth treasure, which is most suited to activate one's Sea of Qi. Your cultivation base is profound. Master, why would you need to rely on the sable magnolia? Forcibly opening up her Sea of Qi won't be as ideal as using a sable magnolia, Lu Zhou explained. I understand now. At this moment, little Yuana rushed into the great hall. She giggled as she said, Master, fourth senior brother is back. Outside the great hall, Mingshi Yin and Zhu Honggong, old eighth, walked at an unbelievably slow pace. The way Zhu Honggong shuffled into great hall made him look even more bashful than a bride on her wedding day. Mingshi Yin glared at him and said, Since we're already here, quit dragging your feet. Would you rather I break them and carry you over? No. I need to pee. Zhu Honggong surveyed the familiar surroundings. He saw the buildings and the evil sky pavilion that he feared most. Zhu Honggong gulped. He looked at the three huge characters that hung over the great hall's entrance, Evil Sky Pavilion. It was the Evil Sky Pavilion that was feared and coveted by many. Zhu Honggong could not remember how often he had dreamed of this place. Now that he was finally here, his feelings were conflicted. They finally entered the hall. Zhu Honggong moved faster now. He knew that his master hated those who dallied the most. He followed closely behind Mingshi Yin. They walked past two huge pillars and were now at the center of the great hall. He looked up. A lively elder who did not seem to be all that old was seated at the high seat in the great hall. His eyes were deep and piercing. Thud! Zhu Honggong was so frightened by Lu Zhou's gaze that he fell to his knees immediately. He quickly kowtowed. Greetings, master. May you live a long and prosperous life. Upon hearing this, Mingshi Yin felt his eyelids twitch. He felt as though he had met his match. Lu Zhou stroked his beard and said, You rascal. Master, I can explain. I didn't betray you. I had no choice but to leave. Please forgive me, Master. Zhu Honggong did not even dare to breathe loudly. Duan Mu Sheng, Ming Shi Yin, Little Yuaner, and Zhao Yu, who had just arrived, stared at Zhu Honggong. Lu Zhou said, "You had no choice?" "I was tricked by seventh senior brother." "Why were you the only one who was tricked?" Lu Zhou's words were clearly meant for his other disciples as well. When he had first transmigrated over, apart from Little Yuaner, Zhu Honggong was not his only disciple who was swayed. Upon hearing this, Ming Shi Yin looked at Zhu Honggong with an unnatural gaze. Zhu Honggong said loudly, "My sincere heart shines as bright as the sun and the moon. Please judge me fairly, Master." Lu Zhou placed his hands on his back as he walked toward Zhu Honggong. At this moment, Zhu Honggong was trembling in fear. He lowered his head, afraid to meet Lu Zhou's eyes. "Old Eighth, don't you wish for me to die as soon as possible?" Upon hearing this, Zhu Honggong trembled even harder. He kowtowed again and said, "I don't dare." Lu Zhou shook his head. He did not know what was going through Ji Tiandao's mind back then. He recruited so many outstanding disciples, but why was Old Eighth as cowardly as a mouse? In recent years, you made quite a name for yourself with Old Seventh's help. The crimes you committed were petty. The Evil Sky Pavilion will bear the responsibility for those crimes you committed, Lu Zhou said with his hands on his back. It was the truth. Even if Lu Zhou was unwilling, outsiders would still shift the blame of his 9 disciples' deeds to the Evil Sky Pavilion. That was how the Evil Sky Pavilion got its bad reputation. Ji Tiandao was ranked first on the blacklist because of this as well. "I've made a grave mistake." Zhu Honggong genuinely admitted his wrongs. Ding. Discipline Zhu Honggong. Reward 100 merit points. What kind of plans are Old Seventh hatching these days? Lu Zhou asked. Since Si Wuya was Darknet sect leader, why would he be stirring up a storm? Old Eighth and Si Wuya were close. Perhaps Old Eighth might know something about it. Seventh senior brother has never spoken to me about these things. I honestly don't know. He has a closer relationship with eldest and second senior brother. They meet quite often to discuss major events under the heavens. I don't even understand the things they discussed. Zhu Honggong answered honestly. Why were you there at the Green Jade Altar the other day? Lu Zhou asked again. Seventh senior brother said the Fiend Temple was going to join forces with the Righteous Sect. They intended to isolate the Darknet and the Nether Sect. Seventh senior brother would never let them do as they pleased. Lu Zhou stared at Old Eighth. He knew each of his disciples well. Zhu Honggong's cultivation base was at the peak of the Divine Court realm. Naturally, this was due to his cultivation method being flawed. Unlike his other disciples, Lu Zhou remembered Zhu Honggong cultivated the 9 tribulations Thunderblast. He was lacking in the 2 last tribulations that were also the crucial parts of his cultivation method. Old Eighth was fated to not be able to enter the nascent divinity tribulation realm. Everyone said that Old Eighth's cultivation talent was poor, but no one knew it was due to his flawed cultivation method. It was clear that the Evil Sky Pavilion disciples were carefully picked from the masses. Lu Zhou was taken aback by Old Eighth's loyalty that was at 5%. This was different from Yi Tianxin. Yi Tianxin had harbored hatred toward him after she betrayed the pavilion. Although she no longer hated Lu Zhou, she was not regarded as a true disciple of the Evil Sky Pavilion yet. However, Old Eighth had maintained a 5% loyalty all along. This meant that Old Eighth had been concerned about the Evil Sky Pavilion all along. Since you know you're wrong, your punishment is to stay in the Cave of Reflection for now, Lu Zhou said with a wave of his arm. Zhu Honggong was slightly stunned. He remembered what his 4th senior brother had reminded him during their journey. He did not dare to be careless. He kowtowed again and said, Master, this disciple knows he has committed a grave sin. Please punish me harshly. Everyone else was taken aback by this. To think that there's someone who's not satisfied with a light sentence. The Cave of Reflection was not exactly the best place. It was extremely cold, the kind of cold that seeped into the bones. Even those with cultivation base had to circulate their primal chi constantly to keep warm. The process of constantly circulating one's primal chi was a long-term torture. Apart from Yi Tianxin, Zhou had never truly punished his disciples harshly. Master, Old Eighth has committed a grave sin. He should be punished harshly. I agree. He should be punished harshly. Eighth senior brother's skin is thick. The cave of reflection is too easy for him. Master, why don't you break his legs so that he won't be able to run around in the future? Little Yuaner suggested. Zhu Honggong felt like crying. They said little junior sister is naive and pure of heart. Why don't I get that vibe from her? Zhou stroked his beard and said, 50 strokes of the plank, refurbish the Golden Court Mountain, and 3 years in the Cave of Reflection with your cultivation base sealed. Zhu Honggong was beginning to regret his words. He could endure the first 2 punishments with his thick skin, but to spend 3 years in the Cave of Reflection with his cultivation base sealed was harsh. He was worried that he would be frozen to an icicle. What? You have something to say about it? Zhou asked. Zhu Honggong hastily bowed and said, I accept my punishment. Take him away. Yes, master. Ming Shirin walked up to Zhu Honggong, tapped his shoulder, and said, Move. Zhu Honggong did not move. You dumb pig. Are you so frightened that you've lost the strength to walk? Ming Shirin made a lifting gesture with his hand. A surge of energy covered Zhu Honggong and hoisted him up. He walked out of the Great Hall. They arrived at the back of the mountain. At this moment, Zhu Honggong began to pant heavily. He said, Master didn't beat me up. Master didn't beat me up. Senior brother, am I dreaming? Pinch me, quick. Ming Shirin rolled his eyes and said, Are you that afraid of being clobbered? Of course I am. Master's temper? No, I think Master's temper is different from before. Count yourself lucky. I told you. If you beg for mercy the way I taught you, Master won't punish you too harshly. Ming Shirin said, feeling slightly pleased with himself. For the sins you committed, spending time in the Cave of Reflection with your cultivation base sealed is far too light a sentence. You're right, fourth senior brother. Thank you for helping me avoid a heavy punishment. I shall forever remember this favor. Zhu Honggong said. While both of them were discussing the punishment that their master had meted out, Pan Zhong suddenly appeared with the 6-yang technique in his hands. When he saw Zhu Honggong, he spoke in a sinister tone. Mr. Fourth, we have a newcomer? Perhaps. It had been too uneventful on the Golden Court Mountain lately, and they were not allowed to leave the mountain freely. When Pan Zhong saw new blood, he was naturally curious. Ming Shirin merely nodded. Pan Zhong walked up to Zhu Honggong and sized him up. He's chubby and not very tall, either. He looks dumb. How adorable. He should be a pushover. My name's Pan Zhong. What's your name, brother? Pan Zhong said in a tone that indicated familiarity. Zhu Honggong rolled his eyes. His temper was about to erupt. Ming Shirin promptly cleared his throat, and Zhu Honggong could only swallow his indignance. Pan Zhong was not stupid as well. He was inwardly amazed that Mr. Fourth was capable of suppressing this newcomer with a simple clearing of his throat. He nudged Zhu Honggong with his elbow and said, Newcomer, Mr. Fourth is actually a nice person, don't worry. From this day on, we're all brothers. Zhu Honggong could not take this anymore and retorted scornfully, Who's your brother? Pan Zhong said, That's not the way to talk around here. You're lucky Mr. Fourth here. If it were Mr. Third or Miss Ninth, you'd wished you didn't say anything. Where did this lunatic come from? Look at him acting high and mighty as though he's my teacher. Ming Shirin raised his hand and said, Off to work. Zhu Honggong replied obediently. Oh. When he saw the derived Moon Palace's female cultivators repairing the steps nearby, his mood turned for better as he quickly ran over. When Pan Zhong saw this, he said in a hushed tone, Mr. Fourth, this newcomer is something else. He seems like a hard worker. This isn't all he has to do. From this day on, he'll be spending his free time in the Cave of Reflection. The Cave of Reflection? When Pan Zhong heard this, his heart raced. It's not easy for the Evil Sky Pavilion to recruit a new member. Isn't the Pavilion master worried about putting this newcomer off by doing this? Don't worry, he won't be put off. Instead, he's grateful. Ming-Shi Yin left after he finished speaking. Pan Zhong was baffled by Ming-Shi Yin's words. He decided not to cultivate his 6-yang technique for the time being, and observed Zhu Honggong instead. Zhu Honggong worked hard and did everything he was supposed to. He took up all the laborious jobs as well. Even after half a day had passed, there was not a word complaint that left Zhu Honggong's mouth. When the sun was setting, Zhu Honggong finally sat down to rest. Pan Zhong walked over and gave him a thumbs up before he said, "Brother, you're amazing." "What do you mean?" "A newcomer should have a newcomer's resolve. I really admire you." "This is nothing," Zhu Honggong said, feeling pleased with himself. Pan Zhong sighed and said, "When I first climbed this mountain, I didn't have your resolve, and I suffered greatly for it." "Suffered?" "Yes." Pan Zhong looked around and lowered his voice. "Brother, the Evil Sky Pavilion's disciples are all eccentric characters. You'll bring trouble upon yourself if you're not careful enough." Zhu Honggong frowned. He gave Pan Zhong an appraising look before he said in confusion, "Eccentric characters? You've seen it for yourself. For example, the Evil Sky Pavilion's 4th disciple, Ming-Shi Yin. He looks like a gentle person, but he's actually cold and heartless. Mr. Third, Duanmu Sheng, is better. At least he doesn't put on a mask, but he adheres strictly to his own principles. Also, the Evil Sky Pavilion's youngest disciple, Little Yuaner. Don't be fooled by her petite and cute appearance. That girl has aberrant mood swings and a short fuse. You should stay away from her," Pan Zhong said solemnly. When Pan Zhong mentioned Little Yuaner, Zhu Honggong was stunned. Indeed, Little Yuaner did behave fiercely in the Great Hall earlier. Zhu Honggong looked at Pan Zhong, who looked like a gossip monger, and asked curiously, "Have you heard of the Evil King?" "The Evil King?" An expression of disapproval appeared on Pan Zhong's face as he said, "The Evil Sky Pavilion doesn't think much of him. The Evil King is but a title used to scare others. He's only in the divine court realm. He might not even best me in a fight. Are you all right? You don't look so good." Zhu Honggong was more than uncomfortable. Flames of fury were burning in the depths of his eyes. A cough could be heard at this moment. Ming-Shi Yin had appeared in the vicinity without them noticing. When he coughed, Zhu Honggong's flames of fury were immediately extinguished. When Pan Zhong saw this, he nodded inwardly. A newcomer should have a newcomer's resolve. Ming-Shi Yin said, "Pan Zhong, anything, Mr. Fourth? Seal his cultivation base. He'll be sent to the Cave of Reflection to repent." Ming-Shi Yin said. When Pan Zhong heard this, he was stunned. He asked, baffled, "Mr. Fourth, he's only a newcomer. Aren't you being too harsh on him?" "Just do it." "Understood." Pan Zhong had no choice but to walk up to Zhu Honggong. He whispered, "I'm sorry for this, brother. This might sting." Zhu Honggong did not seem to be bothered by it. This gained Zhu Honggong Pan Zhong's approval. This newcomer's resolve is somewhat extraordinary. Soon enough, he completely sealed Zhu Honggong's cultivation base. Zhu Honggong turned to face Pan Zhong. He patted his shoulder and said, "Wait for me." "There's no need to be so polite. We're on the same side," Pan Zhong said. Zhu Honggong stood up and walked toward the Cave of Reflection with Ming-Shi Yin. At this moment, a figure dressed in black robes flew in the air and shouted from above, "Eighth senior brother." "Eighth senior brother?" Pan Zhong turned to look. He saw the Evil Sky Pavilion's 9th disciple, Little Yuaner. She stood with her hands on her waist as she looked down on them. Zhu Honggong stopped in his tracks. He turned and said with a smile, "Little junior sister." "Little junior sister?" Little Yuaner said, "Master has ordered me to administer the beatings. Have you forgotten that, for senior brother?" If Pan Zhong did not understand the underlying meaning of this conversation, he would have lived in vain all this time. His eyelids twitched, and he felt his throat grow dry.